Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. So this right over here, folks, this might be the biggest news to drop in the election thus far. In fact, this might be a game changer. You know, for a little while there, we were talking a whole lot about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He was trending in the news cycle, he was doing interviews, everyone was talking about the guy. But eventually it seemed like it almost just fizzled out, and just the other day I was thinking, what happened to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Where did he go? Is he still even running a campaign? Well, it seems like the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. campaign was in a little bit of a hibernation mode, trying to figure out what the next step is, I guess. Obviously, there were pretty much no options left for the man within the DNC apparatus, and so many people were predicting, and I guess at this point accurately predicting at the time, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was going to announce that he was running as an independent, and today apparently is the day where that is happening, or at least we're getting reports that that is happening. I think it'd be an understatement for me to say that this changes everything. Folks, this is the biggest thing to happen in the 2024 election thus far. We have a third-party candidate with significant name recognition and a huge grassroots following. We're not talking about a random dad gene libertarian loser running to get less than 1% of the vote. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. of the Kennedy dynasty is apparently officially joining the race. But folks, before we get into anything, this video is actually brought to you guys by a sponsor, so let's play that clip. As you guys know, here at the Liberal Hive Mind, we very rarely take sponsorship deals, but with a company like Ground News, it's a no-brainer. If you care about the truth, if you care about getting to the bottom of the truth, then you need to be on Ground News. And more specifically, you gotta be using Ground News' blind spot tool, which lists two different categories. For the left, which are news stories that had little to no reporting on the left, and for the right, which shows news stories that had little to no reporting on the right. You know, here's a perfect example. Here's a headline about Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden called, quote, Biden brand his family's only asset, messages shows. This was reported by 6 sources, all sources classified as right-wing. In other words, leftists don't know this story exists. But you know who will know that the story exists? You. All you gotta do to stay informed is go to ground.news/hivemind, where if you subscribe today using my link, you'll get 30% off your Vantage plan subscription. So go to the link in the description and in the pinned comment below. A huge thank you to Ground News. Now back to the video. Alright friends, so here's the headline. Breaking. RFK Jr. plans to announce independent run for president, based on report. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who launched his campaign for the Democrat presidential nomination in April, reportedly has plans to announce a run as an independent candidate. According to Mediaite, Kennedy plans to make the announcement on October 9th in Philadelphia, with a text message viewed by the outlet stating that his campaign is planning, quote, attack ads against the Democrat National Committee to pave the way for his announcement. Bobby feels that the DNC is changing the rules to exclude his candidacy, so an independent run is the only way to go, a Kennedy campaign insider told the outlet. On Saturday, the New York Times published a piece stating that Kennedy met with the Libertarian Party chair, Angela McArdle, in July at a Memphis Congress. He emphasized that he was committed to running as a Democrat, but said that he considered himself very libertarian. McArdle said, adding that we're aligned on a lot of issues, including the threat of the deep state. My perspective is that we are going to stay in touch in case he does decide to run, Mrs. McArdle said, and he can contact me at any time if that's the case. It would be very bad if Kennedy runs as a libertarian, said Matt Bennett, a co-founder of Third Way, a Democrat group helping coordinate efforts to stop the No Labels group, who is also trying to run a third-party ticket. We've been very clear that third parties in close elections can be very dangerous and would almost certainly hurt the president. That would be true of a No Labels candidate, and it would be true of RFK. And so there's an interesting conversation to have right now. You know, there's some people that are making the argument that this is a bad thing, or rather that this is a bad thing for Donald Trump, because supposedly Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is more popular with Republicans than he is with Democrats. This assessment, I think, is not just wrong, I think it's incredibly wrong. I don't think there's even an argument here. A Robert F. Kennedy Jr. independent run for president, in my opinion, would cripple Joe Biden for a couple reasons. The first, based on what we literally just read. RFK Jr. is running right now not against Donald Trump and not even against Joe Biden. RFK Jr. is running against the DNC. He's planning to launch attack ads targeting the DNC, and if anything, that's gonna affect disaffected liberals more so than anything else. else. No staunch Republican voter is going to be switching their vote from Donald Trump to RFK Jr. Maybe some people, but for the most part, it's going to be an extreme minority because the number one focus is getting Joe Biden out of office. And obviously, voting for a third-party candidate doesn't advance that interest very much now, does it? You know, the simple fact here is that you have one president who within his party is deeply unpopular, that's Joe Biden. A majority of voters, in fact, a majority of Democrat voters, don't want Joe Biden to run again. And so if you have another Democrat running who happens to be running as an independent, then that's another Democrat option. Whereas Donald Trump is still incredibly popular within the Republican Party. He's obviously the most popular pick. He's the de facto leader. And so there obviously isn't as much of an interest or incentive for people to look for something else. I mean, that process is currently playing out right now. It's called the Republican nomination process. And Donald Trump is smoking the competition. It's not even close, because there's grassroots strong support behind Donald Trump that isn't super open to changing their mind. We don't have too much polling data giving us an idea of what would happen in a three-way race, but we do have one poll from Reuters/Ipsos, which found this. These numbers are a little bit outdated from the 21st of July, 2023. Actually, back in July, Joe Biden was performing quite well. So this is during Joe Biden's strongest polling stretch. Biden had a +2 lead over Donald Trump at 37 to 35%. But the moment you introduced Robert F. Kennedy Jr., all of a sudden, this is the split. It seems as though Robert F. Kennedy Jr. pulls more from Joe Biden than he does from Donald Trump, pulling 6 points from Biden and only 4 from Trump. Whereas if you introduce Vivek Ramaswamy, the exact opposite happens. The only data that we have suggests that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. pulls votes more so from the Democrat voting faction or Democrat-leaning independents who aren't going to vote for Donald Trump than he does from Trump. I don't think it's a mystery why. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is a Democrat, and people who are going to vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. are probably people with more left-wing political leanings. People who still believe in the sort of Democrat political identity, but just can't seem to stomach another 4 years of Joe Biden. But also people who probably would never vote for Donald Trump. I don't know, it's possibly copium, but I feel like if any Democrat was to run as a third-party candidate, whether it be Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, you know, Democrats who don't exactly have the worst reputation among Republican circles, I feel like if any of them were to run, we'd see the same result 10 out of 10 times, and that's a clear benefit to Republican election ambitions. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just not seeing how this is a win for Democrats. I think that is copium. In fact, I don't think Democrats have got a win in a very, very long time, and that's kind of the issue. You know, it's like a voter enthusiasm issue. It's an options issue. Republicans are enthused to vote again, ready to get Joe Biden out of there. Democrats, not so much. And every day that goes by, this becomes more and more true. Joe Biden hasn't had a win in the media in years. Literally everything they attempt to message around, all of their responses, crisis responses in Maui, for instance, everything has been an utter disaster. Now they're trying to get a win on the whole government shutdown thing, but it's turning out to not exactly be a win at all.
I think this one was a bit of a surprise to me, given, I think, what the conventional wisdom is. So there have been a number of polls on this. So who would you mainly blame for a government shutdown? Actually, the plurality blamed Joe Biden or the Democrats in Congress at 39%, the GOP in Congress at 33%, both equally at 22%. But in the two polls that I have seen, when you combine Biden and the congressional Democrats, more voters blame them than blame Republicans in Congress. And that is very different than what we've seen in prior shutdowns. So who is the public blame for prior shutdowns? Republicans in 95, 96, Republicans in 2013, and Republicans in 2018-19. So this may be a shutdown that is quite different than that in terms of the public blame, because at least at this point, more Americans say they'll blame Biden and or the Democrats in Congress.
I guess we could call the current possible threat of a government shutdown the Biden shutdown at this point, because the public is blaming Joe and Democrats in Congress and not Republicans. I just think that Joe Biden's public image is too bad. Honestly, it's too awful for a situation like this not to hurt them. Joe Biden is too much of a wounded animal. There's so many Democrats right now who are politically homeless, who are looking for some sort of option. They're making it very clear in all of the polling data that they're not only unhappy, but that they're actively looking for something else another option. And here we have another Democrat left-wing option running against Joe, and so obviously there's going to be that split there. I welcome it. It's another challenge. You know, it's the democratic process at play. If Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wants to run as an independent, he has the absolute right to do so. And so let democracy play out. Let's see what happens. Let the best man win. I'm not scared of this situation in the slightest. In fact, I think we should probably embrace it. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.